I'm Lucy Chen, 28 years old, and I'm telling you a story that still sits in my chest like a piece of ice that never melts. It started at Christmas 2022, at my aunt's house, the kind of warm, crowded family dinner that looks perfect from the outside. The tree was lit so bright it made the ornaments look like tiny stars. The table was heavy with food. Everyone was laughing too loudly, like laughter could prove we were close. My boyfriend Ethan was with me that night. He wasn't officially family, not yet, but he'd been around long enough to recognize patterns. The way certain people smiled, the way certain people only smiled when they wanted something. We were barely seated before my cousin Lila became the center of gravity, like she always did. Lila was younger than me, pretty in that effortless way, like she'd been born knowing how to be admired. And every time our family gathered, she floated through the room collecting praise like it was a currency. I didn't resent her for that. Not back then. Dinner was halfway done when Lila stood up and tapped her glass with a spoon. The sound cut through the chatter immediately. Chairs shifted, heads turned. Phones stopped scrolling. Even the people who pretended they didn't care suddenly cared. Lila lifted her wine glass, eyes sparkling like she'd rehearsed the moment in a mirror. "I have big news," she said, voice bright. "I just got a 6-week internship in Paris at a super prestigious studio, right in the heart of French fashion. They only chose 3 people from the entire program, and I'm one of them." The table exploded. My aunt, Lila's mom, jumped up so fast her chair scraped the floor. She wrapped Lila in this dramatic hug, like Lila had won an Olympic medal instead of an internship. "Oh my God, Lila, that's amazing." Someone else chimed in, "Paris, at your age? That's incredible." My uncle nodded while carving the ham like he was sealing a deal. "Told you that girl's got talent. She's been different since she was a kid." Cheers. Clinking glasses, proud smiles everywhere. A relative leaned toward me and patted my shoulder like I was part of the achievement too. "Lucy, your cousin is lucky to have you." I gave a polite smile. I didn't say anything. Because at that point, I still didn't understand why anyone was looking at me like I'd been assigned a role in Lila's Paris story. Ethan leaned close and whispered, "They're all staring at you." "I know," I murmured, keeping my face smooth. "Maybe they're just happy." But the way my aunt kept glancing at me, quick, sharp looks, didn't feel like happiness. It felt like aiming. Then another aunt, honestly, I can't even remember which one, sighed and asked the question that changed the air. "So the travel and living expenses must be a lot, right? Does the studio cover anything?" Lila set her glass down. And I'll never forget this part. She took a breath that was calm, but not nervous. Calculated. "The school's covering half," she said. "I just need to take care of the rest, around $2,500. The number landed on the table like a coin dropped into a quiet room. Not huge, not impossible, just enough to be used as a weapon. Suddenly, the family energy shifted, like someone flipped a switch behind their eyes. People started smiling in a new way. Not proud smiles, expectant smiles. "Oh, Lucy's the dream cousin," someone said too loudly. "She's honestly such a good person." Another voice. Who else would pay for their cousin to go to Paris these days? "Lila's lucky to have Lucy." Clink, clink, clink. More praise. More pressure. I sat there with my hands in my lap, feeling the heat rise up my neck, trying to understand how my cousin's internship had somehow become a public fundraiser with my name written at the top. Ethan's hand touched my knee under the table, a quiet grounding. I looked over at him, and his expression wasn't warm. It was wary, like he could already see the trap closing. Then my aunt turned to me with this look, soft eyes, grateful smile, the perfect mask for a perfect moment. "I just have to say," she announced to the whole table, "if it weren't for Lucy these past 4 years, Lila wouldn't have made it this far." My stomach tightened. My aunt kept going, voice thick with emotion. "She's been so generous, she gave Lila over $10,000. The room reacted like my aunt had just revealed I donated a kidney. People gasped. People nodded like, "Of course she did." People looked at me like I was supposed to be humbled by my own alleged kindness. And my face stayed still. But inside, that sentence hit me like a punch. Because I didn't give Lila a single cent. I remembered every call, every late-night text, every trembling voice. "I'm just borrowing it, Lucy," Lila would say. "I'll pay you back once I graduate." Borrowing, lending, promises, not gifts. And yet here they were, raising glasses, clapping, turning my boundaries into some cute family legend. Ethan leaned in again, quieter this time. "Did you give her 10 grand? I swallowed. "No," I whispered. "I lent it, over years." His jaw tightened, and in that moment I realized something that made me feel both stupid and furious. They weren't just assuming I'd pay the $2,500. They were rewriting the past so I'd feel too guilty to say no. My aunt's smile widened as she watched me absorb it. Lila stayed seated, eyes lowered modestly, playing humble, but her mouth twitched at the corner, just slightly, like she was trying not to smile too soon. Then, like it was the most natural next line in the world, someone said, "So Lucy, are you going to help her with Paris?" And the room went quiet. Not uncomfortable quiet, waiting quiet. The kind of quiet that says, "Answer correctly, or we'll punish you." I felt my heartbeat in my throat. My skin went cold, and somewhere in the background, the Christmas lights blinked on and off like they were counting down to something. Because in that silence, I wasn't a cousin anymore. I was a wallet with a face. I took a slow breath, and I stood up. "I have something to say," I said, my voice cutting clean through the room. Every eye locked onto me. I looked straight at my aunt first. "Aunt Vivian," I said, keeping my tone steady, "I never said I gave Lila that money." My aunt blinked, still smiling, but her eyes sharpened. "I lent it," I continued. "She promised she'd pay it back after graduation." The temperature in this room dropped so fast it felt like someone opened a window in winter. Lila's head snapped up. I turned to her. "And you need to figure out how to fund your Paris trip yourself. You didn't ask me." I gestured lightly around the table. "You announced it in front of everyone, like it was already decided." Lila let out a small laugh, thin and nervous. "I'm not trapping you," she said quickly. "I just thought, you've always helped me, so I figured you'd do it again." "Figured," I repeated, tasting the word like it was bitter. My aunt's voice changed immediately. No more warmth, no more gratitude. "Lucy," she snapped, "why are you making such a big deal? It's Christmas." I felt Ethan shift beside me, like he was ready to stand too. But I stayed calm, because I knew if I raised my voice, they'd call me emotional. If I cried, they'd call me dramatic. So I spoke like ice. "Then if it's not a big deal," I said, looking around the table, "anyone here can cover the $2,500 right now." Silence. Glances dropped to plates. Wine glasses suddenly became fascinating. My aunt's cheeks tightened. Lila's eyes glassed over, ready to perform tears on cue. And I realized, with the sick clarity, that this wasn't just about Paris. This was about a role they'd written for me years ago. And tonight, they were furious I refused to read my lines. I stood there, still upright, still calm, even though my chest felt tight, like every breath had to push through a narrow space. No one rushed to answer my challenge. No one reached for their phone. No one offered to help Lila. That silence said more than any argument ever could. Lila was the first to move. She pressed her lips together, then let them tremble just enough to look wounded. "Lucy," she said softly, "you're embarrassing me in front of everyone. Over $2,500. I met her eyes. "No," I said, "you embarrassed me by deciding for me." My aunt's hand came down on the table, not a slam, but sharp enough to command attention. "Enough," she said. "This is Christmas. This is not the time to talk about money." I looked around the table, then back at her. "Then when is the time? After the next transfer? Or the one after that?" A murmur rippled through the room. Some people shifted uncomfortably. Others leaned in, hungry for drama. One cousin spoke up in Lila's defense. "She lost her father young. You know she's had a hard life." Another voice followed. "It's just $2,500. You make good money, Lucy. Is it really worth ruining the night?" I felt Ethan's hand slide into mine, firm and grounding. I exhaled slowly. "I didn't ruin anything," I said. "I just stopped pretending." My aunt's eyes flashed. "I didn't think you were this petty." I turned to her. "You don't think I'm petty, but you think I should keep handing out money without being asked. Which one of us is crossing a line?" Lila's jaw clenched. Her voice came out tighter now, sharper. "If you actually saw me as family, you wouldn't treat me like this." That one landed. Not because it hurt, but because it revealed something ugly underneath. "If you saw me as family," I said quietly, "you would have asked me privately, not announced it like a done deal." The table went still again. Then someone spoke from the far end. "Lucy's not wrong." Heads turned. It was my uncle, my mom's younger brother. He hadn't said a word all night. He rarely did. But when he spoke, people listened. "Over $10,000 in 4 years, he continued, voice low and steady. "That's already beyond generous. No one is obligated to keep opening their wallet just because they helped once." No one interrupted him. "If Lila had any respect," he added, "she would have asked Lucy in private, not put her on display." The room felt frozen after that. I knew then, deep down, that even if nothing else happened tonight, I had already crossed a point of no return. I took a breath and said the words I'd been holding back all evening. "All right," I said, "I'll still help." Lila's head snapped up. Hope lit her face instantly. But I raised my hand before she could speak. On one condition, I continued, we put it in writing. A loan agreement for the $2,500, and we list every amount from the past 4 years. Clearly, if you sign it, I'll transfer the money immediately. The shift was immediate. Smiles vanished. My aunt's eyes filled with tears right on cue. She lost her father when she was 12, she said, voice trembling. She's already suffered so much. How could you do this to her? My jaw tightened. Losing a parent doesn't give anyone the right to take advantage of others. I wasn't yelling. That scared them more. I'm not refusing to help, I said evenly. I'm refusing to be treated like a lifetime ATM. My aunt shook her head, tears spilling now. Her mother works herself to the bone, and now even her cousin turns her back on her. I didn't respond, because I'd heard that script too many times before. That was when my parents finally spoke. My mother placed her napkin on the table and looked straight at my aunt. Her voice was calm, but resolute. Lucy has done more than enough. Not once has she said no all these years. My father nodded. No one has the right to assume she should keep paying, especially when promises haven't been kept. The room fell into an uncomfortable quiet. Lila stared down at her lap. My aunt said nothing. My mother turned to me and spoke softly. Let's go, Lucy. There's no reason to stay. I nodded. Ethan stood with me. We put on our coats and walked toward the door, my parents just behind us. No one stopped us. No one asked us to stay. We were almost out when Lila's voice rang out behind us, sharp, angry, loud enough to cut through the room. You're just a failure hiding behind a fake sense of kindness. I turned around slowly. Everyone froze. Even Ethan stiffened. I looked straight at Lila. Say that again. Her confidence faltered. For a second, she looked scared. Then she lunged for guilt. You make over 6 figures, she snapped. And you're being stingy over $2,500? My dad cared so much about you. Don't you remember that? He took you to school. He bought you those shoes when you were younger. Don't you feel guilty? For a moment, I couldn't move, because she wasn't wrong about that part. Her father had been kind to me. I remembered it clearly. But kindness isn't a debt that compounds forever. Before I could answer, my father stepped forward. One step. Firm. His voice was steady, but loud enough for everyone to hear. Lila, he said, your father was good to Lucy, but we've also been good to you. He paused. Did your father ever give Lucy $5,000? No one answered. My aunt went pale. My father continued. Years ago, before Lila started college, her mother came to us asking to borrow $5,000. After seeing how hard things were, Lucy's mother and I decided not to lend it. He looked directly at Lila. We gave it, no repayment, no conditions. I stared at him. I had never known. The room fell apart after that. Chairs scraped, people stood. Someone muttered, let's just go home. And just like that, the night was over. As we stepped into the cold, the Christmas lights behind us still blinking, I realized something important. I had finally walked away from a role I never agreed to play. But the story, it wasn't finished yet. That night, back in my apartment, I couldn't sleep. Not because I was angry, not even because I was hurt, but because my mind kept circling the same question over and over again. When did helping someone turn into an obligation I couldn't escape? Ethan lay beside me, awake too. I could feel it in the way he kept shifting, like he was holding back words. You didn't do anything wrong, he finally said into the dark. I know, I replied. And that was the strangest part. For the first time in 4 years, I actually knew it. The next morning, around 9, the doorbell rang. I didn't even flinch. I already knew who it was. When I opened the door, there they stood, my aunt and Lila, both dressed like they were heading to a formal meeting. Clean coats, perfect hair, faces carefully composed. No warmth, no embarrassment, definitely no apology. Come in, I said, stepping aside. They sat on the couch stiffly, back straight, hands folded. It felt less like family and more like a negotiation. Lila spoke first. Lucy, she said, forcing a small smile, I think things were misunderstood last night. I waited. If you don't help me, she continued, I'll lose this opportunity. I've waited my whole life for this. My aunt leaned forward immediately. We didn't come here to beg, she said quickly. You're a reasonable person. You just need to understand how important this is. If Lila doesn't go to Paris, her career is over. I nodded slowly. Okay, I said, then it's simple. Both of them leaned in. 1, I continued. Lila signs a loan agreement for the $2,500. My aunt's smile vanished. Or 2, I added calmly. She applies for a student loan. She qualifies. She's just never bothered. My aunt's voice snapped sharp. You're really going to be this cold with your own family? I met her eyes. Just answer one thing. Are you refusing to sign because you never plan to pay me back? Silence. Lila looked away. My aunt clenched her purse so tightly her knuckles turned white. You're cruel, she said finally. Truly selfish. I felt something settle inside my chest. Heavy, but steady. If asking for accountability makes me selfish, I replied, then I'd rather be selfish than used. They stood up. No goodbye. No apology. They walked out and left the door open behind them. I closed it gently. Ethan exhaled. That's it, he said. Right? I think so, I replied. I was wrong. 2 days later, I was at work when my phone buzzed. It was my cousin Henry. Lucy, he said the second I picked up, his voice tight. Have you seen what Lila's posting about you? My stomach dropped. What do you mean? I just sent you the link. I opened it. Lila's Facebook profile, a post from less than an hour ago. When the cousin you trust most turns his back on you, when you need him the most. I started reading. My father passed away when I was just 12. I've struggled my whole life. All I needed was $2,500. My cousin makes over 6 figures and still refused me. He owed my father. By the time I reached the comments, my hands were cold. Hundreds of them. Dragging me, mocking me, condemning me. What kind of family does that? So rich, but zero heart. Karma will get her. I didn't cry. I didn't comment. I felt something worse than anger. Clarity. To Lila, if I didn't play my role, I wasn't family. I was an enemy. I went home that night, showered, ate in silence, then opened my laptop. And that's when I remembered the cameras. I logged into my home security system and rewound the footage to 2 days earlier, the exact moment Lila and my aunt sat on that couch and demanded money. Clear video. Clear audio. No edits. No spin. Every word. I clipped 20 minutes. Then I uploaded it. Caption. I'm Lila's cousin. Sometimes words don't matter as much as high-definition video. I copied the link, went back to her post, and dropped it into the comments. No explanation. No defense. Just the truth. Then I sent one message to my aunt. If Lila doesn't post a full correction by tomorrow, I will file a defamation lawsuit. And I blocked them both. 5 minutes later, Lila deleted her post. But the internet had already seen it, and it was only just beginning to turn. The internet flipped faster than I expected. I didn't refresh obsessively. I didn't argue with strangers. I just watched, quietly, as the comments under my video multiplied on their own. People apologized. People backtracked. People got angry, but not at me. This video speaks for itself. If this is how family treats you, I'd walk away too. She played the victim until receipts showed up. I felt empty, not relieved, not vindicated, just done. Ethan sat beside me on the couch, scrolling once, then setting his phone down. You don't need to say anything, he said. The truth already did. I nodded. 30 minutes later, I shut my laptop. That was enough. I went to bed early. Not because I was tired, but because I knew something else was coming. When people lose control of the narrative, they don't retreat quietly. They escalate. The next morning, I left my apartment at 6. No breakfast, no coffee. I just needed distance. At 9 on the dot, my phone rang. It was my mom. Lucy, she said gently, where are you? Out, I replied. Why? Your aunt and Lila are standing outside your place, she said. They can't reach you. They called me. I closed my eyes. Mom, I asked calmly, did you see what Lila posted about me? She paused. What post? So I told her. Everything. The lie, the video, the comments, the deletion. She listened without interrupting. Then she sighed. You did the right thing, she said. Don't go home tonight. Stay with us. Let them wait. I smiled faintly. My mom had always been the peacekeeper, the quiet one. Turns out she knew exactly when to draw a line. For 3 days, I didn't return to my apartment. No calls answered. No texts replied to. They were the calmest 3 days I'd had in years. On the 4th day, the front desk at my office called. Ms. Chen, 2 women are here asking to see you. They say they're family. I didn't need names. I didn't want a scene at work, so I agreed to meet them downstairs. The moment I stepped into the lobby, their energy shifted. Smiles, soft voices, tears ready. Lila spoke first. I'm sorry, Lucy, she said, crying. I panicked. I shouldn't have done that. I didn't sit. I placed a printed sheet on the table between us. Every transfer, every date, every dollar. Total $10,500. I'm not asking for all of it back, I said evenly. I'll take $10,000. The other $500 is a gift. Neither of them spoke. If you want the extra $2,500 for Paris, I continued, you'll sign a loan agreement. Total repayment, $12,500. 1 year after graduation. No interest. I turned to my aunt. You'll be the guarantor. If she doesn't pay, I sue you. Her face drained of color. She nodded. 2 days later, they signed. No drama, no speeches. Just ink. 3 months have passed since then. No late night calls, no emotional emergencies, no guilt dressed up as family. I don't know if Lila will repay the money, but I do know this. I stopped letting other people define me as the good one, the generous one, the default solution. Kindness isn't weakness, but kindness without limits? That's how people lose themselves. 3 months after the signatures dried, my life didn't explode. It quieted. That was the surprise. No frantic calls at midnight. No long messages that started with, "I hate to ask," but no sudden emergencies that only my bank account could solve. Just space. Ethan noticed it before I did. "You're lighter," he said one night while we were cooking dinner. "Not happier exactly, just steadier." I thought about that. He was right. For years, I'd lived with this invisible pressure. Like if I didn't stay generous, stay flexible, stay understanding, I'd be exposed as a bad person, as selfish, as cold. Lila didn't just want my money. She wanted my identity. The kind cousin, the dependable one, the one who never says no. And the moment I stepped out of that role, she tried to burn it down. That realization still stung, but it also freed me. One afternoon, Ethan's phone buzzed while we were sitting on the couch. He glanced at the screen, frowned, then locked it. "What?" I asked. He hesitated. "Sabrina messaged me." Sabrina. His ex-girlfriend, the one who always seemed to orbit just close enough to be a problem. "She heard about the whole thing," he said carefully. "The posts, the video. She said you seem controlling with money." I laughed once, not loud, not bitter. Just amused. "She would," I said. Ethan watched me closely. "You okay?" I nodded. "Because now, it doesn't matter." And it didn't. Because control needs secrecy, and I had receipts. The rumor died quietly. No traction, no outrage. People who had seen the video weren't interested in a rewritten version without evidence. For the first time, the truth didn't need me to defend it. It stood on its own. A week later, I ran into my uncle, the one who'd spoken up for me at Christmas. He smiled and said, "You did good, Lucy. Some lessons cost money, others cost silence. You chose the cheaper one." I didn't ask about Lila. I didn't need updates. The contract exists. The timeline is clear. The responsibility is hers. And if she pays it back, good. If she doesn't, I won't lose sleep. Because the real debt, the one that mattered, was never financial. It was the weight of expectations I didn't agree to carry. I still believe in helping people. I still believe in family. But I also believe this now. If someone only values you when you're useful, they don't love you. They love the role you play. And once you stop performing, that's when you find out who they really are. So let me ask you, was I wrong to ask for a loan agreement? Or was that the moment I finally stopped being written into someone else's story?